so that is the theoretical definition or the philosophical concept behind Dharma. But it's not just a text limited to the text, a word limited to the text. But even several present-day contemporary Hindus and many people in India, they are practicing their respect towards nature, towards ecology, not as a part of saving the biodiversity or being environmentalist. It's just a reflection of living their daily dharma. And automatically, environmentalism comes as a byproduct in their daily actions. I think we'll see some more examples going forward. But let's go to the next concept here, karma. Karma is, I think, even more common word for most of us living in this country. Karma is that what you dump it in this image that I've put it here. You dump it and you drink it. So it's a cyclical process. Again, if you dump garbage into your rivers, your ponds, your oceans, that's what is going to haunt you back. You have to drink it back. So again, it's your action and your reaction. It's all connected, and what you give to the universe, you get it back. But the cyclical process is not. It does not limit our choices. By taking care of our present-day actions, we can take care of our future results. So we can still reform our karma. We can take care of our karma in present moment to be able to help the environment for the next generations. So it's very much in our control. So karma is not just a fatal destiny, but karma means action. So what we do, what actions we do at present moment can guide our destiny in the future. And the second image that you see on your screen is an example of a Bishnoi woman, and she's taking care of her own child and a cub of a deer with the same love and affection. And we'll get to in a little bit more detail on Vishnu community, I think, in the next slide. So that's
wonderful. Well, another sort of set of Hindu traditions that many are familiar with in a sort of outline form are the Tantric and yogic traditions. But again, I'm not sure that many people understand the link between those traditions, which many in the West think of in terms of the Tantric tradition in a highly sensualized manner, or in the yogic, in regards to the yogic tradition, in relationship to something that one does for one's own personal physical well-being, that don't necessarily understand the link between those traditions and the environment. How would you explain that link?
Yeah. So Hinduism's Tantric tradition, they teach that the entire universe is a manifestation of divine energy. And yoga, which is derived from the Sanskrit word which means to yoke or to unite, it refers to a series of mental and physical practices which are designed to connect the individual body, mind and soul with the divine energy, the Brahman. So both these traditions affirm that all phenomena, objects and individuals are expressions of the divine. And because these traditions both envision the earth as a goddess, contemporary Hindu teachers have used these teachings to demonstrate the wrongness of the exploitation of the environment, women and indigenous peoples. So what has become recently, unfortunately, is that yoga is all about beauty and health. But it's not just that, as it explains, that body, mind and soul, everything has to be in sync with the divine energy, the divine Brahman, the ultimate divine form pervading all over the universe. So basically it's a connection between the Brahman and the Atman, the Atman of a self and the divine Atman, which is the Brahman. So it's again the interconnection of self and the super self, the Brahman. So that's about yoga and Tantra. Then it also, once we start doing yoga and go deeper into it, it's essential that the very first step towards doing yoga is a set of yamas and niyamas, yama and niyama. Yama, which means the self-restraint, and niyama means the regulations and disciplines to be followed every day in yogic practices. The very first step to do yoga is ahimsa, complete non-violence, and I think the next slide go in detail about that. But that again inspires many Hindus. So 700 million Hindus, even today, are mostly completely vegetarians, or at least mostly vegetarians. So even if they do eat meat, the meat eating is like once a month or once in a fortnight or once a week. It's not like that they need meat for the breakfast, for the lunch, and for the dinner, and they are worried about obesity, and they are going to the gym and wasting all kinds of energy, their own energies and electrical energy while running all the treadmills and so on. So their food intake itself is so light and so healthy and so organic and so locally grown, which is all these words have become buzzwords in this country now recently. But For thousands of years, Hindus have been vegetarians. They have been growing their own food. They have been eating only lentils and only wheat and only fruits and vegetables. So meat eating was sort of almost very, very rare. So this is all derived from healthy practices of yoga and tantra, which also are derived from Ayurveda, another big subject of topic of discussion of the ancient science of health coming from India as well. So that's about tantra and yoga in Ayurveda.
Good. And you've mentioned these two teachings, Ahimsa and Sannyasa, already, but we felt that they were important enough that they merited their own slide and their own attention. And in addition to explaining these concepts, perhaps you might say a little bit about the image of the monk in the photo here, because I believe that's a Jain monk, but it's clearly related. So tell us about Ahimsa and Sannyasa.
So in Jainism, for example, which is as ancient as Hinduism, coming also from India, and Buddhism came a little later when Buddha came 2,500 years ago. So both these traditions, Buddhism and Jainism, inspired and influenced Hinduism to a great extent, and they critiqued some of the practices in the rituals going on in that ancient India. And with the combined effect of these three traditions, Hinduism, Buddhism, and Jainism, as I said, 700 million people of Indian origin are still mostly vegetarians and non-violent in that respect. So, and Jainism goes even further and defines the religion itself as non-violence. Non-violence is the greatest dharma, ahimsa, paramo dharma in the Sanskrit language. So non-violence, what it means here, as against what we understand non-violence as, is that we take non-violence as probably as a political ideology to do not use violence for solving political or social problems maybe. But how these traditions have understood non-violence is, first of all, non-violence in thought. Not even thinking evil or thinking wrong about somebody, some being, or even about an insect, or even about an animal or birds. So millions of when I was growing up in India, I used to see some old people. They would collect their wheat and sugars, and they would roam around all over the small town where I was living, and they would feed the ants living on the land. So that's part of being non-violent. So taking care of even the ants and bees and all the bugs. So when they're walking, they're very, very mindful. For example, the Jain monk image that you see, when they're walking, they would have a broom in their hands, and they would clear off the land before they step ahead. And when they're walking, so they don't even take, for example, they would not ride on cars or bikes or any, definitely not the aircraft, because all of those things would involve all kinds of violence to the microbes and all the millions of ancient, small, tiny creatures living on the roadside. So they would walk barefoot, and even walking barefoot, they would first clear the earth or the land where they're walking, and then they would roam around all over wherever they have to go. So that's the extreme of non-violence that Hindus, Jains, and Buddhists have practiced for thousands of years in India and wherever they have gone, even to different Asian countries. So this is, I think, a very powerful message that to be able to live sustainably, you have to be also very, very mindful of the smallest creature living around you and even away from you. So to be non-violent in your thoughts, non-violent in your speech, and non-violent in your actions, of course. And vegetarianism again is I think very is definitely connected with this concept of non-violence. And then the second concept is mentioned in the slide is the sannyasa. So sannyasa involves also restraint on your body, on your mind, and on your speech. So to be able to conduct fasts, for example, what very popularly Gandhi did in just the last century. So whenever there was an issue that hurt his thoughts, he would go on fast for a long period of time as a kind of a self-purification. That self-purification in turn reflected on all his actions, what he did as his political struggle against the British colonial powers. So the fasting as a self-purification tool, in turn, so political goals that he had in mind were just the byproducts of his own sannyasa practices. Limited consumption, for example. So there is a story that once Gandhi's son, apparently he lost his small pencil, and Gandhi could not sleep for an entire night because of the loss of that one small pencil. And here we are living in our apartments and homes, and every room I find in my own apartment, there are at least 10 pencils lying around because of my kids and so on. So how much wastage we are doing in this country, and then we think of environment. First, I think we have to purify our own practices. We have to cut down on our own need, our own wastage, and then environmentalism comes automatically as our own self-purification. And renunciation again is the same concept connected to the sannyasa and self-purification and self-control. So yeah, I think we already mentioned about Gandhi. Probably we can go a little bit more in detail on that.
Yep, and this makes a wonderful transition to Gandhi, with whom obviously many are familiar and whom many hold in the deepest respect. My sense is that when most people, or when many people think about Gandhi, they think about his civil disobedience, his commitment to nonviolence, his influence on Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. They may not necessarily think about the ecological dimension of what he represented. And yet I know that you feel that he's a tremendously important figure, not only because of the leadership that he offered in gaining Indian independence from Britain, but also because of what he represents ecologically. Tell us a little bit more about that.
Yeah, what a life it was. We can't even imagine, I think, the way he lived. As I said, just the example of pencil, I think, illustrates what kind of life he had. Just a small piece of pencil was enough to make him lose his sleep. That kind of abhorrence for waste he had. Then his own small meal, every day he would just take some small fruits and nuts. And no egg, of course, no egg, no meat, no seafood, completely vegetarian. Even going further, I think, just limiting to just fruits and nuts. And self-reliance, so he's the image here on the screen, he's making his own fabric every day. So that kind of self-reliance, he lived by the principles that he preached. So he practiced before preaching to others. So everything that he said, he did first. So you can see this another image. He's walking in the village, and he's again a lot of everyday walking tours that he conducted, the fasts that he conducted, his own fabric that he made as another example of self-reliant life. Then thinking of one more example, and it slipped my mind, but so probably, yeah, okay, yeah. So there is another story, probably those of you who saw the film by Richard Attenborough. So Gandhi is sitting with all these national leaders and discussing about all the big problems of the country and how to negotiate with the British, and all this big meeting is going on, and there comes a small goat with a hurt leg, and Gandhi leaves the meeting and goes and takes care of the goat first. So that kind of attention to detail and attention to small details, and that kind of kindness and compassion he had. So all those big issues are not that critical. First, we have to live by the small attention to who are living around us, and that kind of compassion and love and kindness that he had. And rest everything else is, I think, just a byproduct of his kindness and compassion towards everybody around him. That's the kind of examples of ahimsa and self-reliance and whatnot that he had shown by his life. And then Dr. Martin Luther King went to India, and he visited the exact place where Gandhi lived, and then took all the inspiration and came back and launched the civil rights movement. Nelson Mandela in South Africa also took a lot of inspiration from Mahatma Gandhi. Dalai Lama has visited many times Gandhi's place, and of course Dalai Lama himself lives in India now, and so he has taken a lot of inspiration from Gandhi's example. And then many contemporary environmental activists and leaders in India right now, Meera Patkar and Sundarlal Bahuguna, who had led the Chipko movement. Chipko literally means hugging, for saving the trees in North India. Then there is Apiko movement in South India. There is Dr. Ramchandra Guha, who has taken a lot of inspiration from Gandhi and have written about environmental issues. There are many scholars and activists and all kinds of activists and all kinds of leaders and writers and thinkers who continue to take their inspiration from Gandhi's life and Gandhi's thoughts and Gandhi's words. Gandhi was one of the most prolific writers. He wrote like thousands and thousands of pages, and people are still compiling all his writings, all the letters that he wrote. So he was very, very open, very frank,